Hi Eastview family, coming at you from the beautiful Clark's Beach with a thought for today. And my thought is, what is failure? And what if we fail at the thing that God has called us to do? Now we all know Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. But what if we can't? What if no matter how much time and effort we put into something, it still ends in failure? Now, personally, I have always been in two minds about failure. On the one hand, I have the mindset that if I work hard enough, I can succeed and failure is not an option. While on the other hand, I know that sometimes you're just not good at things. For instance, I'm terrible at sports. That is an undeniable fact. No matter how much I try, I'm just plain awful. So why the dichotomy? Well, for one, I don't really care about competitive sports, and I don't feel called, for want of a better word, to become an elite athlete. However, I'm good at analysis and forecasting, and I feel called to a career in the business advisory sphere. And with my writing, I feel called to write fiction. So failure is not an option. And yet, for the first time ever, I failed my exams, and my grades have been pulled down the lowest they've ever been. And in my writing, I've sent out my manuscript to innumerable agents, and it's been no thank you, no thank you, no thank you. My pride and sense of competence is shaken because I'm supposed to be doing this, and I'm working so hard, stretching the limits of my capabilities. So why am I still coming up short? Failure is not an option. Now, the dictionary's definition of failure is a lack of success or the inability to meet an expectation. Now, Edison, after 1,000 failures to create the light bulb, said, I found 10,000 ways that won't work. And even the Apostle Paul, who was rubbish at public speaking, and others had confirmed this, said that he would boast in his failures. So failure is an option. In preparation for this, and also to round out my own thoughts on the topic, I listened to a number of talks on how the biblical narrative frames failure, and one concept in particular stood out to me, which is failing forward. What is failing forward? It is our response to failure and a leaning into God. Psalm 73:26 says, My body and my heart fail, but God is my strength. Proverbs 14:16, Though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. And James 1:12, Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life. And verse 4, Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking in anything. In verse 5, If anyone lacks wisdom, ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault. In 2 Corinthians 16-18, Do not lose heart. Our momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So fix your eyes not on the seen, but what is unseen. And finally, Philippians 1:6, Be confident in this, that God, who began a good work in you, will carry it to completion. Failure gives us the opportunity to depend on God and His power. Failure is an option. And when we stop and we think about Abraham, Samson, David, Jonah, and many more besides, they all failed in their calling. They fell short of the mark and messed things up. Some of them big time. And yet God stepped in to where they were in the midst of their failure, and by His power carried out the calling to its completion. Failure is an option. So coming full circle back to Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Has your understanding of the verse now shifted? Now, taking the words of Maya Angelou and adding my own little spin on them, it is necessary to encounter failure so you can know who you are and who God is, what you can rise from when you lean into him, and how together you can come out of it. And to my amusement also, as I was preparing this, I realized that the novel I'm currently writing, one of the main characters, who I would describe as a hero, actually almost fails at everything that they do. Even when utilizing all their courage and strength and know-how, they still fall short. Yet they do not succumb to despair. Instead, they continue to lean in and lean on. Now I will close off these thoughts with a bit of the song from the Afters, because for me it speaks of the prize of our perseverance, and the promise in spite of our failures. I'm waiting my whole life for that day. I will live my life to hear you say, well done, my good and faithful one. Welcome to the place where you belong. Well done, my beloved child. You have run the race and now you're home. Welcome to the place where you belong. So go now, go in peace, to love and serve the Lord, and triumph in the midst of your failures.